Hey y'all, it's Southern Sleuth again, and it's time for another Nancy Drew analysis. Which breed of dog would each Nancy Drew video game character have? This is video 6 of however many it takes until we run out of games. So if you haven't already watched video number 1 about the series, go back and take a look for some further context. It's the one about the main Nancy Drew characters. I'll continue to link it in the descriptions. Once again, we are spinning the wheel to determine which Nancy Drew game we are analyzing next. Wheel of Morality, turn, turn, turn. Hey, look at that! We're going back to Nancy's hometown of River Heights and Alibi and Ashes. Now don't forget, we've already done Bess, George, Ned, and Deirdre that in my first video, so they will not get a repeat here. If you haven't seen that first video though, let me just plug it in a second time in this video. It does give a better description of what I'm doing here, as well as just kind of sets the scene for how these are going to go. Please note that this video will contain minor spoilers due to the nature of these characters' roles. So if you have not yet completed Alibi and Ashes, I do recommend skipping this video and waiting for the next video. You can just go back and watch the first video twice, watch the second video 3 times, the fourth video, okay, so on and so forth. Alright, leave this video in 3, 2, 1. Let's get sleuthing, y'all. Starting with our city councilwoman, we have someone who has her hands in a lot of baskets. Between running for re-election and keeping the city full on ice cream, she is pulled in all directions. Unfortunately for Tony, this means little time for owning a pet. She doesn't even strike me as someone who would get a dog just for the fun of it. Or she would definitely be the type to get a dog and then rehome it within a few weeks, claiming it just wasn't a good fit. However, that would make her look pretty bad to her voters. So, if she was to get a furry friend, it would be specifically to raise her status in the polls, because who doesn't want to see the first dog of River Heights? To increase her popularity, Tony would absolutely go to the local animal shelter to get a dog and make sure all the media was there to watch her. After walking around the cages for a while and pretending like she just wished she could take them all home, she would finally give a loud sigh and proclaim she only has room for one. Then she would strategically pick an American Staffordshire Terrier, because what sounds more like a politician in America than getting a dog with America in its name? But did anyone notice how when anyone pets the dog, its tail wags like crazy, but when Tony goes to pet the dog, it just dips his head and gives her side-eye? Might be more of a political prop than a pet. Speaking of dogs with jobs, Alexei Markovic has definitely had many dogs in his career. As a kid, he likely had something like a little beagle that helped him solve cases for his friends, like the case of the missing sausages. Spoiler alert, the dog ate them. However, it has been many years since he allowed himself a best friend like that. His separation from society has made him bitter and cynical. He sits by himself alone in his shop and does not exactly have the most welcoming face on when it comes to customers. Also, you would think he might be smart enough not to put a very expensive and very breakable vase right in front of the store where the highest foot traffic is. He is really just setting himself up for failure there. So he needs a friend. Allowing himself to love another dog might allow him to find some happiness again, though he couldn't do another beagle. Instead, I think Alexei came across a retired hunting dog, specifically a bloodhound. I picture him taking a drive through some River Heights neighborhood and coming across an older dog tied to a tree in the backyard waiting for someone to pay attention to him. Alexei went up to the door to inquire and learned that it was an old hunting dog who was no longer useful to its owner. No longer being needed, Alexei might just be able to relate to this dog a little bit. So Alexei would have taken the dog immediately and given the hound the love it deserved, and even set up a little fake hunting trip to make the dog feel more useful. Then they would both feel a little more useful. And who knows? Between the two of them, they might even solve a new case together. They just might need to be a little more patient with each other. It has been a while. Next up is Brenda Carlton, our #1 River Heights news reporter with an epic grudge and a strong desire to get what she wants through any means necessary. For her, the story is always just a quick dash away, and she knows how to make her way through the city faster than any other reporter. Her sense of direction is strong. She's willing to lie and even put on disguises to get her story and get her glory. It only makes sense to pair Brenda with a dog that has its eyes and ears open at all times. I also picture her with a bit of a smaller dog, just for the sake of fitting into the small news van without it taking up every corner of space they have. So, Brenda gets a well-known bull terrier. But if you don't know what a bull terrier is, picture the target dog. That's a bull terrier. They were originally bred to sniff out rats, and that nature has not been completely bred out of them, so they typically don't do well with other animals on their turf. Sound familiar? Our news reporter is also not a fan of people being on her turf. The bull terrier can make for a good watchdog, considering it does not always love being social and would probably rather growl at a stranger than befriend it at first. The dog would be able to alert Brenda whenever someone comes into the news van. You know, come to think of it, a lot of the Nancy Drew character suspects could really have kept Nancy away a little longer with a few well-placed watchdogs. Or at least they might have been alerted a little faster that she was snooping through their stuff. Maybe her should look into that as a plot. Ghost dogs just didn't cover enough dog content. Last, but always first on the scene, is Chief McGinnis. That look on his face when he has to arrest Nancy. He may not love that she's always getting in his way when trying to solve a case in town, but he does respect the law and justice, and he does seem to know that this wasn't exactly a fair assessment of Nancy's guilt. He's not the first policeman that we've given a dog to so far in the series. Although I'm trying not to repeat dogs, it would be unfair not to give him a dog breed worthy of his rough but good guy at the core personality. He is one for rules, but also one for justice, and we see him allow Nancy a little leeway in their case when it comes to roaming around the police station. Even after all the time she made him look bad solving the case before he did, he still wanted justice to prevail over personal grudges. So, since he's very honorable, he gets a very honorable breed of dog, the Belgian Malinois. They are highly intelligent and very alert to their surroundings, and sensitive to people's emotions. While less commonly used as a police dog, the Belgian is still a wonderful teammate for the force. They can be loyal, but can be a picky breed. Clearly they have their favorites and those that they would rather not be around. The chief might be able to beat Nancy on a few cases if he had a hard-working dog by his side. Just like Chief McGinnis, the Belgian Malinois does not like to be interrupted during its work. This hardcore focus would allow it to hopefully provide the chief with a good deputy, and maybe the dog would have solved the case of who set the fire faster than even Nancy did, considering, the chief didn't seem to help at all, so between Nancy and the dog, they might have gotten it a little faster. Since I already and really, at this point, that's all there is for this video. Since I already did Bess, George, Ned, and Deirdre on my main characters video, this brings us to an end of this one. What did you think about these dogs that would be roaming around Nancy's hometown? Do you think they make sense? What breed of dog do you own? And do you think a certain Nancy Drew character would choose it too? If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and giving me a follow. You can also find me on Instagram under the exact same name. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about what other breed these characters might go with. If you have another character that you feel very strongly about, put that in the comments as well, or just send me a message on Instagram. All suggestions that I use do get referenced in the description of each video. Thanks for sleuthing, y'all.